Luis Enrique's transition from player to coach was quite a smooth one. He's managed some big clubs, Barcelona being the real standout one, picking up numerous trophies and actually picking up a historic treble-winning season in 2015. Obviously had quite a good stint with Spain as well, and he's just been given the PSG job. So today I thought there's no better time than to recreate his incredible tactics inside of FM23. I want to quickly say, if you do enjoy the tactics on this channel, please do leave a like, drop a subscription and hit that little notification bell just up there. But let's crack on and talk tactics. So we have got 3 variants to break down today, guys, but we are going to go over the default one first. Now, this is going to change a little bit, so please do stick around for that, because I like to talk through the roles and actually explain why we've picked them, and also it helps you understand the tactics a little bit better as well. We're going to kick things off with a sweeper keeper on the default, nice and simple to get things started off, nothing too special about that role. A fullback on the right, on support, on cross from deep and hold position. This is going to be a really solid right back player who is going to hold that area very well, and also can put a cross in from a deep area, so he's not going to be too attacking. Most of the crosses are going to be from deep positions, not from the byline, so that is a real good option to have in that fullback role. The first position we're going to change means this one, so it is not going to be a central defender. It is going to be a nice simple ball playing defender on the default instructions to match another ball playing defender on the left hand side. Now, you can argue possibly it would be one central, one ball playing defender, but just for the sake of how it performs in game as well, I've opted for 2 ball-playing defenders. But if you haven't got a player that can cover that, then obviously you can look to change it if and when needed. In terms of the wing-back on the left, we've got a supportive wing-back on the default instructions. Very similar to the full-back on the right, but this one is going to get further forward, so it means that we're going to have one wing-back, a lot more attacking than a defensive full-back on the right, and it's just a really nice balance. Now, going over to the middle, it's not going to be a half-back, because in my opinion, it's a little bit too negative. So what we're going to opt for is going to be a simple defensive midfielder on support, on tackle harder. Now, what's great about this role is he is a DM, he's very defensive, but just having him on that supportive role doesn't make him too negative to the point where he's playing really as a third centre-back, essentially. He is going to drive in the midfield occasionally and just be, you know, a real important player to protect the back for, but also can help the other 2 midfield players link up the play and dominate possession, which is something this tactic done so well. Next to him, we actually opt for a central midfield player on the supportive duty, and we're going to tell him to have a couple of instructions now. That is going to be on roam from position and actually take more risks. And the reason why we've done this is because, one, I want him roaming, really getting in pockets of space, causing loads of issues for the opposition, and the take more risks on the passing is because we can afford to have it on. We still maintained an absolutely incredible amount of possession when it comes to having this instruction on. He wasn't wasting the ball too much. A lot of the passing is short anyway, so having that on just makes him a little bit more of a sort of like a free roaming player in the sense of his decision making, and opting that with the roam from position, you've got a very sort of free flowing but not over committed supportive midfield player. Next to him, we go with an advanced playmaker. You probably would expect that on attack, on get further forwards. Obviously, the default instructions also mean that he's going to dribble more, take more risks, and also manually shoot less often, which really we want to be doing. We don't really want him being the main one getting the goals, so just having these 2 as sort of a pair, because essentially they will act as a pair in that midfield going forward. The DM just a little bit behind them, protected them, is a real good partnership. On the left-hand side, we've got an inverted winger on attack on the absolute default. I really like this because we've got one side on the left, obviously a player which is going to cut in, and obviously that means because he is going to be cutting in with the ball, when the wing-back does go up the field and get further forwards, he's going to be sort of in this position here, and the fullback or the wing-back in this occasion is going to have license to obviously get a little bit more of a wide area on that field without colliding with the winger. On the right-hand side, we have got a default winger on attack, and again, this is not an issue because the fullback isn't really going to get up too much at all, so the winger can stay out wide and they're not going to collide, and those default instructions such as run wide, stay wider, get further forwards, for example, are really key instructions, so we don't really need to add anything else to them. And obviously the one role you would have known that would be changing is obviously it's not going to be an advanced sword for a Luis Enrique tactic. It is going to be a supportive false 9 on the default instructions. Now, this is a role which I really do love, but sometimes you can't always get it connected with the players that you have. Some players simply can't play it to a good level, so if you do want to change it to an advanced sword to get more goals, you can, but it's just not really then 100% a Luis Enrique tactic. So I would definitely recommend, if you can, deploy a false 9. If I'm right in saying I actually had Neymar in this role when we tested with PSG, and we did here, so you can see Neymar coming in right now. He actually has got quite a good role ability, so he got picked up 49 appearances and 46 goals, so it is doable. ball. You can get good stat lines with these players, but obviously this is PSG. With your team, you don't have a player like Neymar, for example, so you can tweak that to a deep line forward, advanced forward, etc, etc. But in this scenario, it actually worked really well. Over to the team instructions, we are going to have, obviously, an attacker mentality. In possession, we're going to have fairly wide, just really spread that team out a little bit. Playing out from the back is a much needed thing in a Luis Enrique tactic. Much shorter when it comes to the passing directness, a slightly lower tempo, with be more expressive and work ball into the box. Now, this might seem quite attacking, and it is quite attacking, but we didn't struggle at all when it comes to the conceding side of the game. We didn't concede too many goals, to be honest with you, and this just works really well. You've got that short Tiki Taka style, and that's why I made sure I implemented so many things. So when you have it on much shorter, you can find a team which just passes about uselessly. They don't really get shots off. They don't really even go attacking. So having it on attacker mentality, be more expressive, etc, etc, just boosts that team to actually do something with the ball instead of just simply maintaining useless possession. In transition, we're going to have counter press, distribute to the fullbacks and the centre backs while taking short goal kicks. Nothing selected for the counter or the goalkeeper in possession. So obviously we want to be pressing, and when we've got the ball, we don't really want to be countering because it's not really his style. And also personally, I found hold shape is a little bit too negative for a balanced approach. And then we go over to the out of possession. And this is where things obviously are going to remain quite attacking. A high defensive line, a high pressing line of engagement much more often, and stop crosses when it comes to the cross engagement. Very important we have that on, obviously, to replicate his style. And the higher line is a much needed. You could even argue you can have a much higher line, but for me, going in with a much higher line into every game was a little bit too much. Though we had lots of success with this tactic, a 2-0 win here in the Champions League final against Bayern Munich as Mbappe goes through and absolutely thumps it past Manuel Neuer. A fantastic goal there. Verratti into Neymar, cuts it back into Ugarte, over the top into Soler, out on the right, in the middle, quick passing, unstoppable. And we are now going to go over the attacking variant. I do want to quickly thank all of the wonderful names coming down the screen right now. These are either going to be new or existing Patreon members. Patreon is a great way to support me as a creator, and also you get some cool perks, including access to all 3 of these files in one simple download, early video and tactic release, priority in the tactics and the rebuilds as well, one-on-one tactic help, and also access to the exclusive Patreon giveaways. Now, we do go over these in the videos, the attacking and defensive variants, so that is why I do this, because I don't want to force you into obviously being a Patreon to download the tactics. So please do stick around to get these, because I literally do use all 3 variants. I sort of switch them up all throughout the season. So the attacking variant then, now this is going to look very similar to what you've seen, and it is, to be honest with you guys. So in terms of the player roles, it actually remains exactly the same, apart from the central midfielder has a lot more instructions on now. So he's on take more risks, get further forwards, run from position, move into channels. Now this is a lot of instructions, but the issue I had with the attacking variant, it's not really an issue, but the front 3 sort of have to remain the same. I didn't want to change to an advanced forward because then it changes the complete style of the tactic. The wingers are already very attacking as they are. The other 2 midfield players, for example, the advanced playmaker, obviously is also very attacking. The DM, I would need him to be what he's doing already, and it just already is quite an attacking sort of style. So just having a bit more of a freedom on that central midfield player pushes them up a little bit more without going too over the top to the point where you're committing 3 midfield players. So that's why there's only the one change in the player roles. In possession, however, it is going to be some changes coming in. It remains on attacking mentality, by the way, just to let you know. It's going to be fairly wide. Now we've got overlap on left and right when it comes to the fullback, so this is really going to push the fullbacks up the field, and this obviously is going to commit them a lot more, which is really good to see. We're going to remain obviously on be more expressive. I don't want run at defence on, because we're not a team that is going to be running at the defence. We're going to be a team that is going to be passing around the defence. We don't want to completely change the style of a tactic just to go more attacking. We want to go as attacking as possible while maintaining our DNA, which obviously is the Luis Enrique way. In transition, there's going to be one simple change, and that is going to be distribute quickly. Obviously, if we are on an attacking tactic, we're in a rush to get a goal. That is one thing you can change to make that happen. So very important you have that on. And out of possession, there are some changes. We've got much higher on the defensive line, a high pressing line of engagement, much more often, prevent short goalkeeper distribution, get stuck in, because at this point, if you are desperate for a goal, you have got to be a little bit more aggressive to try and win the ball back, and also remain in the stop crosses. Now over to the defensive variant, and this is a real personal favourite of mine because it's a very balanced 4-3-3 to the point where, although there are a lot of supportive roles as you can see, it still does pack a punch going forward, and I would recommend definitely having this one in your tactic collection because it's a great one to switch to. Now we're going to kick things off with the player roles as always. The back line remains exactly the same. We are going to check the fullbacks, exactly the same for the wing back as well. Central defenders remain exactly the same. The DM, however, does go on defend on this occasion, on tackle harder. Now I know I said that before it was a little bit negative. It is negative going into a game like it, but if you are simply defending a game out, there's nothing wrong with being a little bit negative to try and get that result. Next to him, we're going to have a central midfield player on support, simply on pass it shorter, which is nice and simple, pretty much on the default instructions. Next to him, an advanced playmaker on support, on pass it shorter. You're probably noticing a pattern right now. All these players in the midfield especially are going to be passing the ball incredibly short. And that reason is because we're now going to be a team that is going to frustrate the team and essentially have useless possession. We're going to pass it around, drain the life out of the opposition, and eventually that's going to make them get out of position themselves, and we can play one ball through and have a chance on goal. So that is why this works really well in this sort of triangular midfield. Going forward, the inverted winger is going to be on support. Exactly the same for the winger on the right hand side, and the false 9 remains exactly the same. So a lot of supportive roles, in fact loads of supportive roles in this team. All the rest are on defend, but this works really well to maintaining the ball and gaining those brilliant statistics when it comes to possession. In possession, we're going to have fairly wide, we're going to have play out of defence, we're still keeping that in the team, a much shorter passing directness, a slightly lower tempo, time wasting is going to be set to sometimes, work ball into the box remains on, and now on the creative freedom, because we are just trying to, seal out the game, we're going to go with be more disciplined. In transition, we're not going to have the counter press on now. When we have won the ball, though, we are, however, going to hold the shape. And this essentially is going to keep the players in the areas which I want them in, making it easier for us to pass the ball about, and really just restricting the players to certain areas, making sure the entire field is covered. Slow pace down is also going to be an option we're going to have on, and we're going to distribute to anybody across the back line still, while taking short goal kicks. And out of possession, the first time in a while, we've got the standard defensive line, the high pressing line of engagement. We've still got that trigger press on because I still want to have some fight in the team, still some fire in the team. We still want to put pressure on their goalkeeper. We don't want to completely shut ourselves out of the game, and we're still going to aim to stop those crosses. But in terms of results, guys, we had a really good time here. We won the French League with PSG, obviously alongside of the Champions League, which I show you in a very comfortable league here. Won 30 games, drew 3, lost 1, 93 points compared to Monaco with 74. We also won the Trophy de Champion against Toulouse in a 3-0 win, so that is going to be a treble winning season with PSG. And in terms of the league stats, guys, this is where it really did shine. So we're going to have 2.7 for most points per game, most goals at 92, most shots at 796, fewest shots at 162, a 90% pass completion, 66% possession over a season, 756 dribbles made, fewest conceded, and also the most clean sheets. And that also translates to 2.71 goals per game, a conceded of 0.44, just over 23 shots a game, nearly 91% pass completion, and a very high tackle-win ratio of basically 76%. We also had a decent season with Brighton, although I would argue this is not really designed for the use of a team like Brighton. We were literally 1 point off getting in the Champions League spots, alongside, to be fair, of, well, Newcastle could have done it as well. We were very close to getting in the Champions League spots. We bring home a 6th place finish. A lot better with Barcelona, as we do test with them as well, and we win the league quite comfortably over Real Madrid with 95 points. So I thought I'd show you another game. This is by far one of the most dominant games in the French League season, as we got off to a fantastic start there against Nice in what ended up being a 4-0 win. A great ball over the top there from Soler into Wijnaldum, who's going to cut it across, bit lucky there with the deflection. Neymar, though, had an absolutely incredible game here, picking up a hat-trick, and he really does thrive in that false 9 role as Mendes plays him through there again. And you can see here as well, it's quite good now because you're seeing the more direct approach as well. This tactic can do both, which is the great thing about it. And the last goal is going to be a set piece into Kimpembe, What a way to seal out the video. But honestly, guys, that is going to give you 3 very, very good Luis Enrique 4-3-3s. Let me know in the comments right now, what do you think he is going to be like at PSG? Do you think he's going to win the Champions League with PSG? Do let me know, and if you guys have enjoyed today's video, please do consider leaving a like, dropping a subscription, hitting the little notification bell. This way, you're never going to miss an upload, and we're doing daily videos this week, so do check them out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Enjoy the rest of your day.